Daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play option. Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Troy. Good morning, Matt.
Guys, we were in the midst of a heated debate before the show went live, and I'm just going to finish this.
I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it now.
So here's the thing. Dan, I know what you're saying about it seems like people were better shooters back then. I fundamentally...
Do you want to bring everybody up on what?
We're talking about Premier League soccer, right, guys?
No.
Champions League?
I fundamentally disagree that basketball shooters were better in the 80s and 90s, and here's why.
Okay.
To the point about you could hold each other, you could be a little bit more aggressive in the 80s, and I would actually argue that wasn't the 90s, but this is a separate argument. I actually think Jordan ruined that. The Pistons. Notice there weren't a lot of Pistons teams in the 90s anymore. I think Jordan ruined that. But two, you had role players. And so at Dennis Rodman, you can find videos where he hit like 2 threes in a row and the arena's going crazy.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Because he never took threes, right? Shaq took like 3 threes in his career.
Yeah.
Well, you got the 1 through the 5 now that if they went out to a gym, they're all out shooting us.
I take that back. Shooters, you're right, because you have to be a good shooter in today's NBA to last. You're right. I take that comment back. Maybe I meant more just the basic fundamentals.
I get that. I understand.
Fundamentals, but no, you're right. Not shooting. Because I think I tell you one story. I went to and this might be applicable with the current series. What's his name? Luke Cornett had a good game for Boston, big guy. We went to a Bulls, what would you call it? A G League game 4, 5, 6 years ago. Luke Cornett was playing on the other team. I don't even know who it was. Well, we were there a half hour before the game watching him shoot. He stood, now he's like 7 foot, isn't he? A big kid. He was standing on the 3-point line and he was hitting threes in like they were layups. And he had a nice shot. I'm going, I mean, he didn't look like, big athletic or anything, but I never saw a big guy shoot like that before. And I don't know if he's known for that or whatever, but to see 7, you're right. In this age and era, most of these guys can hit threes like layups.
It's insane. It's insane.
I mean, what's a percentage? What's a good, if you're a 3-point shooter in the NBA, what's a good percentage? What are these guys hitting a long shot like that?
League average is like 36, 37, I think, this year.
For a long shot like that, I think
three,
that's really good.
Oh, that's insane. I mean, that's insane. And in the 90s, if you shot 30%, you were a good 3-point shooter.
And they didn't shoot. I mean, Jordan, if you look at Jordan, he didn't shoot. Because he would take it into that near the free throw line on each corner. Yeah. And just so obviously he had to have a high percentage, but he was taking 10-foot shots.
Well, and I think to that point, I agree with you, Dan, in this sense. Like, I do think the game is more skilled now. I do think it's faster paced. I think they're better athletes now. Yeah. I do miss the idea of role players.
Yes.
I do miss that. And that's an argument that can be had. But, the thing of like, people say, well, Jordan would have had a better 3-point shot in today's world. Agreed. But if we're going to play that game, you'd also have to say, like, I think 6'9", 270 LeBron would have been okay in a physical league.
Oh my goodness. That would have been, you could argue LeBron could have been better back then.
I agree.
He would have bruised everybody. No one had the strength of him. Maybe a Karl Malone or a Charles Barkley. That's about it.
Yeah, he's a faster Karl Malone that runs point. So that's, a tougher.
Is there such a human?
I know. Listen, anyway, I I know when we first get on, there's a couple people I don't like. I feel like this is a conspiracy that there's 23 people right now in the chat. 23 is a number that we.
Oh yeah,
you know,
we don't like that.
so, and 22.
It's
Thank you.
Chicago,
Someone
I
left.
enjoy it.
Someone
Yeah.
left. Thank you. All right. So guys, listen. The market isn't going to have any more down days. We're done with down days.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just looking at the chart and did not realize. I mean, I had an orb that did well yesterday. I did not realize how. I mean, we had a pretty big move. We were down at 58.65, and like, could we be back at 6,000 in the next day or two? Like, is that on the cards?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but I mean, yesterday was a non-zero move. VIX 9-day is in the 15s. So the shorter term volatility index being 15 is like no big deal territory for VIX 9-day.
Yeah, I'm looking at 19. If you take the last 19 trading days, and you just look at the candles and stuff, 19 trading days, you've had 4 red candles, 15 greens, 15. So you're batting, that'd be a good winning team, 15 and 4.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And so it's just like, and it's the candles are getting smaller.
They are.
ATR has collapsed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
IV versus RV. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting much more range bound, and VIX is getting near the low end of possibly the range for still the next couple months, 17. And I think it's, again, good. I think it's going to be really good for range bound, but the only thing is you still have a much lower probability. Wouldn't you agree? The tariffs could cause a little bit of, there could be something, but I think you still can have a big candle day. But I mean, this week, the news was just like nothing, right? It was just like,
Yeah.
I put on a reverse iron condor Wednesday for Thursday. And I'm thinking, okay, you got some catalysts there. You've got, what was it? The PPI, I get those mixed up. PPIC, one of the PPs, what PPI,
Yes,
whatever it is.
Yep.
You've got the Chairman Powell was speaking yesterday morning. You had Walmart. I'm thinking these are catalysts. And I had a reverse iron condor where you only needed it to go 35 points, literally, to the short strike. But the problem is, and put it on Wednesday for Thursday. And by Thursday morning, we were down 20, 25 points. And then we came back in the middle, and it's like, we didn't move. We didn't cut. Yeah, it's like, it's in that spread was down. So it's like very difficult. You'd think there's no way we're not going to get 30, 35 points. But I mean, things have really slowed. And I think, Matt, you were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, on yesterday's show a little bit that, was it reverse iron condors the last 3 weeks with the market slowing have been a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, just to clarify, they've been rough. That's it. There's an infinite variety of reverse iron condors. So when I say this, I'm just talking about people who are just doing a very simple VIX down by an iron condor. Like, so those in general have not had a good, they've been in the doghouse of my portfolio here the last little bit here. So, and today probably another one going on unless, we used to get on these shows in the market and we'd have a 40-point futures move. Futures are up about 13 points, maybe 0.25% or so. And VIX looks like it's going to be down again a couple more points. So the VIX closed below a little bit below 18 last night. We're at like 17.5 on it. So we'll see.
It could go back to the 7-week or whatever low of hit 17 again.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you on the double calendar. I mean, I had a calendar on this week. It worked out well. What have you? We just had the reverse iron condor, which is a negative theta trade, hasn't done so good. I would say the double calendars, different ball game. Wouldn't you agree?
Double calendars did the intra-week double calendars I mean, again, people have different double calendars. You can price them. You can have more bearish, you can have more bullish, you can have more neutral. The ones that I had a very good week, except for the 5-7 and 6-7. Like your weekend calendars got blown out because remember it was just Monday, but we did have a 3% move on Monday.
I forgot about that.
So those got wrecked. But I mean, mine were wrecked within reason. Again, it's all about how you set those things up. So there's backtests floating around where people trade at the money double calendars, which is a very different trade than trading 10, 15, 20, 30 delta double calendar. There's all different ways you can skew them to have more of a upside bias or downside bias. There's a million ways to trade them, but I would say in general, mine did very well this week, except for Monday, when all of them went off because they all got delted out. So but the ones that came off yesterday did real well.
I think gamma is starting to matter again.
Yeah, talk about that. What do you think?
Well, I think the 5,900 strike. Forget gamma for a second. Just talk about big numbers and psychology.
Yeah,
we're now we blew past 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58 like it's nothing, but that's because of the vol.
Yeah, and
so vol has, I think of it as like gas in the chamber. Well, we're running out of gas, and that doesn't mean we have to stay, neutral or not go up. But I think what happens is, a 16 VIX, 17 VIX, 18 VIX, there's a lot less fuel for movement than a 30 VIX. And so I think when there's in a low VIX environment, the large numbers matter. So you see, you can see it this week. We got to 5,900. And it's not an exact science.
Yeah.
There's definitely stickiness at 5,900.
Yeah. Even at the end of the day, it tried to I was trying not to watch the orbs too much, but in 30 minutes before close, I think we dipped down to right around. Yeah. We were at 30 minutes before close, we had dipped right back down there and pumped 17 points back up to end the day.
And so I think those whole numbers matter. I think 6,000 is a big psychological level.
Yeah,
we could be at it by the end of the day, but here's my point: just because we're at it by the end of the day doesn't mean we're going to 6,100 the next week. I think we'll rally to these whole numbers, and then we'll kind of like sit. And gamma starts being added to those positions. Positions get open interest gets huge at those positions. And it just turns sticky. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is how behind I am this week. Today's opex, right?
Is it the
third Friday of the month?
I think this is the big 16th.
Yeah. So I imagine after today, a lot of that 5,900 won't hold as much.
Yeah.
And so there'll be movement either direction. It frees the market up to go a little bit. So, to me, I enjoy it. I look back. Last month was a wonderful time in history. I will always cherish it in my heart. And now we're back to like where you have to be really good to make money.
Is it going to get a bubble, Troy, in the backtester?
Well, here's what I was going to say.
Is it going to get a bubble?
The tariff stuff, I think, could play out still. But I will say, I actually think here's you heard it first on the Option Omega show.
Breaking news.
If you look at the 10-year rate right now, we're ignoring what the market historically doesn't like to ignore, which is that 10-year rate just keeps going higher. And so if we get close to 5, that's definitely a catalyst for something. So,
well, and the other kind of along with that, and this is like kind of maybe the same perspective from a totally different angle. Is there a Trump put on VIX? As in, is there a level that with Trump in office, VIX is not going to go below? That's what I mean when I say that. Is that a possibility?
I'll give you a number the next month or two. I think just what is the tariffs, July or what's his latest threat with or pause with China?
There was a headline today about another round.
It's so nebulous.
Yeah. But nebulous. I'll try to find it.
I think 7. To me, could easily go. I'd say, 17 to me right now seems kind of a low. I mean, you think about what's the low end. The low end, if you go back some years, okay, you get 11 or something like that. I don't see it.
We go into 11.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
So
exactly where I was going.
Yeah, I think it's 17, 16 in this area where we're at. I would be structuring trades. I mean, you could do some long veg, a short veg if you're in the world of range bound, but I would just have structured trades over the next. I think good for range bound. I just think structured trades relatively near neutral deltas, but I want more room on the downside. Like if you put even something like, think about putting a calendar 30 points below the market, you're still going to be delta neutral or relatively delta neutral if you put a calendar or like a double calendar, have something like I'd be closer to neutral. I would, normally you want to be long vega, long delta. When we start getting 17 level, 16, 15, I don't mind being neutral. I don't need to be long deltas because I'm not that scared of the volatility. I'd rather have a little more room on the downside. I just think at this point, so it's not like you're saying, the market's going down. I just want more room to the downside because the upside, as Matt said, is losing energy. And I think the upside is going to be easier to manage. One thing I want to say, I had a couple students yesterday talking about from a technical basis, which I don't understand much, but technical, they're saying breakout. They use the word breakout.
Sure.
Does this look like from a technical basis? This doesn't, to me, a breakout means there's a little bit of force. Have you heard that yesterday at all? Or what are your thoughts on that? A breakout?
I mean, we had a 3% move over the weekend. I don't know. Troy, what do you think?
No, again, people know technicals a lot better than I do. I don't. I think about it in terms of vol as an options trader. I want to think in terms of vol, and that move. Oh, listen, one side note real quick. I'm going to just let you guys in on a secret. I'm going to make her famous real quick. Okay. This is, you care to do this? So here's the thing. We have a very special guest on the Option Omega show. When I go to the cigar lounge in the mornings, I wait like a beggar. And then this sweet lady right here, Devon. Shout out Devon. Lets me in early.
I love it.
An hour before. So now we're in the cigar lounge.
Wow.
Everybody's working well.
I'm impressed.
God bless her. She's amazing.
This is an hour early.
So the chat is saying, Troy, on the subject of what Dan was just talking about, maybe allow a little more room to the downside. Listen, it might be time is it too early to start looking at some possible hedge scenarios or some possible tail risk or some possible out of the money back tests? Because it's always a great time for that. But what's exciting is that there is now another data point to back test that we didn't have before, because these crashes, and I would argue that, I mean, this sounds ludicrous to say that we're at 5,900 guys. I mean, we were in the 4,900 just a couple weeks ago. Yeah. That's a crash and a rebound. We were at what, 62? Did we get to 62, 6,300? I don't even remember in February. I mean, 63. So
it's a great time to have hedges on, and it's always a terrible time to have hedges
on.
So this is the way I look at it. I mean, I've got tons of hedges on that just bleed every day. So you have to deal with the bleed.
That's right.
In these low VIX environments, which brings us to our point. We should talk about close out the week on our small account thing. I will say in this environment, I can just speak personally discretionarily for a second, and then we'll look at automation. I can just tell you my book. My book is 6,000 butterflies, 5,800 put calendars.
Oh, let's talk about this. Put calendars to the downside, butterflies to the upside.
A combo.
Why do those Greeks, Dan, why do those Greeks make sense?
Well, they make sense. I mean, when you think about how many days out, Troy, we're talking on that?
Well, I go short term. I'll do like 7 days at a time.
All right. Well, 7 days, if you look at with the vols lower, if you look at an expected move to maybe next Friday, it's probably what, 80 to 100 points, Troy, or somewhere around there. So it's basically they work because he's putting Vega wise, he's going to be relatively neutral. So he just has price risk. But you're basically the shorts, would you say, Troy, they're less than 20 or close to 20? So it's like a DC. You've got plenty of room over a 7-day period for the expected move. So you've got some of the price covered, and you got theta, nice positive theta. So I think, it just got a lot of room, right? I mean, to me, fundamentally, if someone said, why does a double calendar work? Well, it works because, and again, many different ways to do it, but a double type strategy, you have a double diagonal, you have a double calendar, you have a double, and doubles just have that foundation of a short strangle. But Troy had the calendar on the downside, butterfly on the upside, but they work because you got the positive theta, but you got the room, right? You don't have volatility risk. You got, a ton of room on this thing. And, that's the main reason, I think, right? I mean, a double calendar, if you're doing it at 20 delta, you got the probabilities in your favor if you let it work a little bit. And same here, Troy, would you put it 100 points, I'm looking at ES, right? The ES, it looks like the expected move to next Friday, and then we have a 3-day weekend next week. It's 101 points. So you'd put it, so you're like right there. I mean, and if you wanted, someone could say, you know what? I want a little more room to the downside. Put the calendar 120 points down, 130, put the butterfly, if you're not as excited, 90 points up. But I think that's a interesting trade.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to finish. So let's finish the small account long gamma trade this morning. And
all right, let's do it.
I'm going to say this real quick as an intro. I mentioned this yesterday. I was really struggling to try to find an improvement on this trade. Now, I don't know baseball, so I'm going to use bad baseball analogies for a second. But what is the guy who is it the relief pitcher who comes in at the end? The closer, they call him?
The closer. Well, yeah. Closer is a subset of relief pitcher. Yes. You're correct.
Let's say he's the closer, the last one.
Closer.
And let's say I'm the manager. Okay. Does the manager call the closer from their little phone in the back?
And then they do like some sort of signal. Like, come on.
From their little phone.
Get in here.
So this is how this week has been as the manager of this baseball strategy. We started this strategy, and Steven came in. Shout out Steven. Shout out the chat. And he pitched a perfect game. He really did. He pitched.
You can't improve.
You can't improve on it.
You can't improve on it. Shout
out. But you only get so many pitches, is what they tell me. And so usually you don't know who you're going to call. In this scenario, I didn't know who the closer was going to be this week. Sometimes the closer calls you. And this is what happened to me this week so shout out Sujeku, who came in coach. Yeah, he opened his own door from the back, and he walked out and he said, "Hey, I got this, coach." And so Sujeku came through yesterday, and he came through again today.
Wow.
He's top 25 reliable MLB closers.
Shout out Steven's house, team OO for the win here.
Oh, let's talk about this.
Wow.
So what are you guys seeing in this trade? Matt, explain it to the people.
Okay, so this is a variation on a Rick. And what it is, just by looking at it, is it's in SPY, small count. And we had the discussion yesterday about SPY and early assignment. So if you're curious about that, go watch yesterday's video. This is a uncapped to the downside play. So to the upside, it's banking. You want movement, but the upside, you have a short call on the upside. So the movement's going to be capped because over the long term, I'm guessing if we remove that long call or that short call, probably backtest better to have the short call on there because you're saving money every time you put the trade on with a short call, and you're only getting past that short call occasionally. So you have a call debit spread to the upside. The bottom is a single long put. So you're uncapped to the downside. So what happens is when you get a day like December 18th of last year, why do I remember December 18th? Well, because I was sitting with a couple traders, and we were watching the Fed and the market. We were back around this territory, and they said, "Oh, we're going to lose 6,000. Oh, we're going to lose 50 to 900. Oh, we're going to lose 5,800." If you go to the trade log, I would wager that December 18th is in there, and that would be a great example. I haven't seen this, so going out on a limb here, but that would be a great example of a downward move with an uncapped put. So let's see if December 18th made it on up. There it is. Is that a good example? Yes, that is a good example. So you can see we've got two tranches here, a 935 tranche and a 1230 tranche. And you can see in SPY what happened was we were at, I remember them talking on CNBC about the 6,000 level. So you divide that by 10 roughly for SPY. You can see exactly that trade was flat all day long. The Fed starts at 1,400 is when the festivities start, and you can just see it go wild from there. So as the green underlying moves down, our trade, which is the yellowish orange, skyrockets. So the advantage to something like this is you would make Taleb happy because your downside profits are uncapped. And in general, we have had some large upside moves. We had that one, April 9th or around that time. But in general, the downside moves, the extreme downside moves, I think are more statistically common than the extreme upside moves. That's why this trade's interesting.
Yeah. Well, didn't you say that there was only, what we took a couple of weeks ago on the upside, there were only X amount of 1% moves to the upside over a certain period of time?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. And it's easy to backtest that. The intraday moves, they're not very common. And the downside moves are not very common, but they're more common than the upside moves.
Yeah.
Listen, to me, when I look at this, it makes me really happy because a couple things with the data. There are trades that probably have worked a lot better. You'll notice, and I stopped it, it's not as good if you run it year to date, but to the point of what we talked about with RICs in general, they've suffered lately. So that's not necessarily on purpose. We just started this week with that going to April 14th. And I wanted to keep that. So, but even with that, even if you run it year to date, including these, there are a couple different things. This is a back test that I have confidence in for a couple reasons. One, 434 trades is a good data set.
Yes.
You're not trading 20 times, right? The data set's a big deal of it, right?
Yep.
This is one that you could put on because it's one at a time, one contract, 2 contracts a day, basically, 2 spreads a day. You could put this on in a $5,000 account and sleep well at night.
Yeah. And you could put this on, not that we're advocating for one symbol over another, but
of course,
the early exit on here is the assignment discussion, right, Troy? So this is the kind of trade that if you can get a decent fill on XSP and it's just a ride or die, might make more sense to put on XSP because you don't have to pay the fees, the slippage, and the early exit, and you can just let it. XSP is designed not to be closed.
Yeah, you could definitely
buy, which
and it would improve the trade. I almost
yes, it would definitely improve the trade.
And here's the thing: it's not easy. I mean, people might look at this and say, it is not easy to get a negative theta trade and put it on 4 times a week and come out a winner. So it's and to me, that's what makes this more impressive, especially. And so for a but this would be one trade. Absolutely, I would do mechanical because the power of this is really what Matt's hit because it's uncapped on the downside. Look at those 2 days that Matt, those two great occurrences that took out what 20, 30 negative trades. So you need, if this is going to work in you got to let it go mechanical because you don't know when you're going to get the down day.
Yeah.
Those down day actions. So you got to let it play. But if you're small enough, right? Like Troy said, you can do this in a small account. This can work. You can handle it. It's because you're going to get a day, but I think it's very impressive. When I look at 51% win rate, but a negative theta, and you're playing 4 days a week. This is impressive. And I think Troy, did you with it? All right. This is with it uncapped on the downside. If you capped it on the downside, you wouldn't have anything like this, right?
I think can you do that? I think it's still good. It's just not as good. It's going to change your capture rate for sure. It's also going to change the it's going to change everything. But
I will say this too, Joseph, great point. You have to stomach the 15 losses in a row from March to May this year. So here's the beauty of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
the
world of negative theta.
We don't advocate one single strategy. And so part of this challenge, oh crap, it improved it.
It made it a tiny bit.
It was negligible. It was negligible. But here's the thing. You don't just trade this strategy. I don't want anybody to walk away from any of these things or anything ever and say, I have one trade I do, and that's all I do. I think I had a great mentor. He happens to be here with us right now, Dan Sheridan, who taught me a long time ago that a trader should have trades in a toolkit. You should have a toolbox of trades.
Yeah.
And it's true. You would have had there'll be times with this type of long gamma negative theta trade where you're losing a bunch of times in a row. How you balance that is you have a bunch of other trades.
Yeah.
And you put them on small enough. I'm giving you the telos here for a second.
Here's the premise. Hit it.
What we're working on. In a couple of weeks, I want to have enough trades to where you could look at any one of them and you could say it has drawdowns at this point in history, but the others balance it out. And
right.
and all of them are small enough to where you can sleep well at night. You just put them on and you don't think about it. And that's right. The beauty of automation. You say one trade had a bad day, blah, 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 blah. That's okay, because 2 other trades had a good day, and some of them you make a little bit of money and some of them win a little times, but you make a lot of money. And that's how trading works.
Yeah.
So, and this is to give Taleb his flowers again today, like the idea of saying, I'm going to make 2% a day. No, you're not. Like someone who comes in is like, my goal is to make $300 a day. You won't. That's not how trading works. That's not how any dynamic system works. And so, like, I can speak really personally. I'm up for the year, and almost all of my wins happened in a 2-week period.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how trading works.
Comes in it's bunches. It's not evenly distributed.
Yeah. And right. But I think as Troy hit it, you have a diversity of trades on, and some positive theta, some that work for a move, and the goal is at the end of the month, this month the trades that the trades I've been, the positive theta has been fine, right, and that's offset the trades that have wounded a little bit, though, especially the last few weeks. It's just the negative theta type trades, the reverse iron condor, those type of trades. But if that's all you did, right?
Yes.
In this period of time, you wouldn't be feeling so well. But it is that combination, and
I think again, we could look at it next week. If you sold a 5 delta 90-day put spread or naked, you have a lot of win rates. You almost always win.
Yeah.
So it's not about always winning. It's about risk.
Well, and that's, I think, important for people starting out in the options business. You can look at, like, you'll see some trades like this trader. I haven't lost in 14 years till today. And you look at what they're doing and you're like, but when you lose, you're done, right? Selling the puts. And I think that's really what, if they just say, my goal this year, I want to totally understand every trade I do. I want to understand the risks, and that's important, right? Because it helps with the sizing. And I think the sizing, if there's anything a new trader how does a new trader become an intermediate trader? By trading small enough that he lasts for 6 or 7 months. And that's why it hits me when I was talking to some big shot at a brokerage firm one time, and they were bringing in like 5,000. I mean, some crazy amount, he said, of accounts each week. But he said, you know what, every 3 months, we got to do it again. I said, why? He goes, because these guys don't make any money. And I'm like, why don't you guys spend, do a little more on educate, making sure they know what they're doing. You can keep your customers a little longer. So
that's right.
Anyways, but yeah, good study on this one.
Well, next week is the big week. It's the week that everybody's been asking for. Next week, we look at DCs with a small account.
I like that.
And it's going to be crazy. I'm going to tell you now. If you've never been in the Option Mega Discord, optionmega.com, check us out. We got some DC traders. There's a phrase that goes around in the Option Mega Discord that says DCs are life.
With a Y.
Yeah. And I would say that Christ is life, but that's a separate podcast, right, I suppose. But second, and second to that are DCs in a very small, the chasm between those two things are wide, but still worth talking about. So,
do you have any swag yet in the OO gift shop? Do you have any of those T-shirts with that on it? DCs are life.
I think I want to do a DCs are life, and then I want to do exactly how I said, a T-shirt with a bunch of small print that says actually Christ is life, but that's right. And then it just goes down into the thing and then option. Right. So anyway, listen. Someone said Dreadlex Steam had the best comment of the day. This is a big cigar. This is a big cigar. I call this my overcompensation cigar. So on that note, listen.
Happy Friday.
Have a great weekend. Great trading. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.